The greatest con in history. Not like a good greatest, not impressive greatest, the actual most embarrassing, most avoidable, most in-your-face con that millions of people walked straight into with their eyes open and their hats on backwards. And the reason we know it's the greatest con in history isn't because the left said so. It's because the guys who helped run the con are now the ones calling it that.
It's the greatest con in history. By the way, it's the greatest con in history. I mean, truly. It's the greatest, and I don't say great in like a good way. It is truly the most successful con in history. It makes Enron look like a guy doing three-card Monte on the street.
Tim Dillon, Andrew Schulz, Dave Smith, Joe Rogan. These are not liberals who were always skeptical of Trump. These are the guys who interviewed him, platformed him, endorsed him, helped make him feel safe with younger audiences, and in some cases literally took credit for getting him elected. And now every single one of them is standing in the wreckage of what they helped build, saying, wait, this wasn't the deal. Which, yeah, no kidding. But here's the thing, the frustration is real. The feeling of being lied to is real. And the way it's all unraveling right now is genuinely worth paying attention to. Because this isn't just about Trump. This is about what the whole thing was built on, and why it was always going to end up here. Let's start with the part everyone already knows. The Rogansphere went all in on Trump in 2024. Not quietly, loudly. Trump went on Joe Rogan for 3 hours. He went on Flagrant with Schulz. J.D. Vance went on Tim Dillon's show. They had the Cambridge Analytica playbook dialed in. Say exactly what the well-meaning guy in his 30s wants to hear. No more wars, drain the swamp, America first, stop the bleeding. And it worked. It worked extraordinarily well because the messaging was perfect. And these podcasters had the exact audience Trump needed. Young men who were already skeptical of the mainstream but hadn't fully committed to either team.
No, but frankly, she's given me so much ammunition, I don't really have to. I mean, she's a radical left lunatic.
That clip right there. Schulz laughed in his face. His body already knew. His brain overrode it. He went on to predict a Trump landslide and said, and I'm not making this up, that Flagrant was going to get Trump elected. He said that out loud on his own show. And then July 10th, 2025 arrives. And Schulz goes on the same show and says, I voted for none of this. He's doing the exact opposite of everything I voted for. I want him to stop the wars. He's funding them. I want him to shrink the budget. He's increasing it. Everything he said he wanted. The opposite happened. Every single thing.
People that they'll DM me and be like, you see what your boy's doing? You voted for this. I'm like, I voted for none of this. He's doing the exact opposite of everything I voted for.
Yeah. Now zoom out for a second because the Schulz moment is one data point. The broader picture is more interesting. Dave Smith, libertarian, Joe Rogan regular, genuinely principled anti-war guy, went on Breaking Points in June 2025 and said he apologized for supporting Trump. Not just expressed disappointment, actually apologized, and then called for his impeachment, and then said, Trump is going to lose his coalition over this. I don't just speak for myself. Dave Smith had actually made a prediction back in March 2025. He said, if Trump launches a war on Iran, not only will I not support it, I will apologize for the rest of my life for voting for the guy. Iran happened. He kept his word.
And so, yeah, Donald Trump looks and man, I supported him this last year. I apologize for doing so. It was a bad calculation, but he should be impeached and removed for this.
And then Rogan, March 2026. The Iran war is 2 weeks old. Rogan goes on his show and says, this just seems so insane based on what he ran on. This is why a lot of people feel betrayed. He ran on no more wars, Soros, end the stupid, senseless wars. And now we have one, we can't even clearly define why we did it. Joe Rogan, the guy who endorsed Trump on the eve of the 2024 election, using the word betrayed.
So insane based on what he ran on. I mean, this is why a lot of people feel betrayed, right? He ran on no more wars and these stupid, senseless wars, and then we have one that we can't even really clearly define why we did it.
This isn't fringe stuff. This isn't a bunch of random people complaining in a comment section. This is the actual infrastructure of how Trump got elected the second time. Now publicly, specifically, and repeatedly describing the same feeling. We were sold something. The thing that arrived is different from what was advertised. And here's the part that's kind of hard to look at directly. The signs were always there. Not hidden signs, not things. You needed a decoder ring to understand. Operation Warp Speed, the Epstein situation, the NFTs, the crypto pump, the Bibles. the AI Jesus post, $4 billion added to the Trump family's net worth since 2016, Gaza being discussed like a real estate opportunity. None of this was ambiguous. All of it was visible in real time.
All Americans need a Bible in their home, and I have many. It's my favorite book. I'm proud to endorse and encourage you to get this Bible. We must make America pray again.
Make America pray again. After launching sneaker and cologne lines last month, the former president, so he is selling, get this, the God Bless the USA Bible.
The messaging was just effective enough to keep explaining it all away. Every contradictory thing got filed under 4D chess. Every broken promise became a negotiation tactic. Every obvious red flag became, well, he's still better than the alternative. And maybe in some cases that framing was genuinely reasonable. That's the complicated part. The alternative was real. The concerns about what the other side would do were real. People weren't stupid for landing where they landed. The propaganda just happened to be aimed at exactly the right frequency for exactly the right audience. Shane Gillis actually nailed this years before any of it unraveled. He had this bit about realizing that Trump's entire campaign was aimed at guys exactly like him. Fat, kind of dumb, not paying attention. And the punchline was, what are we doing? What are we doing? Which is funny because he said it as a joke. And now it's basically a documentary.
I actually did not vote for him, which that was tough. Look at me. His whole campaign was at me. I was watching TV, he was like, are you a fat idiot? I was like, yeah, dude. Yeah, what are we doing? What are we doing, dude? We're building walls? Hell yeah.
The Iran war is where the whole thing cracked open. February 28th, 2026. Strikes begin, the supreme leader is killed in the first wave, the Strait of Hormuz shuts down, global shipping goes sideways, and Trump, who ran on ending stupid, senseless wars, is now conducting one that nobody in his base fully understands the purpose of. Tim Dillon's take is worth hearing because Dillon doesn't try to be nuanced about it. He just calls it what it is. A defense budget of $1.5 trillion. Wars. No daycare, no Medicaid, no Medicare. We can't do those on a federal level. That's what we've got. The exact opposite of America First. Spend nothing on Americans. Spend everything on military operations that benefit contractors and foreign governments.
Anything that you can remember and identify as a complete and utter scam, this is the greatest con in history. To run as an America First and you're going to take care of America and then turn around and go, all of these things, daycare, Medicare, Medicaid, we have nothing to do with that. We're fighting wars. That's what we're here to do. We're here to have a defense budget of $1.5 trillion, and we're here to fight wars. It is the greatest scam in history.
And Rogan, to his credit, didn't stay quiet. He called the Iran war insane. He called out the Streisand effect when Trump launched a campaign to destroy Thomas Massie for saying the strikes were unconstitutional. He said, when you do that to a guy making reasonable points, you're going to give him more support, not less. That's an actual observation. That's noticing something real. It's just about 2 years late. The Theo Von situation is its own thread, because Theo is the most interesting case in all of this. Theo went on JRE back when everyone was still deep in the Rogansphere energy. He sat across from Joe and kept trying to say something real. Keep pressing on something. Every time he got close, AI surveillance, Palantir, what's actually happening in these wars, Rogan redirected. Exercise, the mothership. Come to Austin, get a trainer.
Then you develop like 1 minute, it just breaks through, and all of a sudden you got a fucking career. Yeah. You got a career now.
Yeah, I mean, there's young heroes that are being sprouted out of here, and even adult heroes, people that have been in it a while, are getting here and finding just a new. You're right. It's like
guys like Adam Ray. Adam Ray's killing it now. Adam Ray was struggling. But he was a funny guy.
Hard worker.
Never lost his ambition. Never lost his focus. Never lost his enthusiasm for it. Never got bitter. Always friendly.
But the thing Theo said that actually sticks, he said he was sick of rich people not putting their own kids in these wars. If you're asking for it, put your fancy kid in it. Let them go. And he said it with a kind of genuine anger that's different from commentary anger. It wasn't a take, it was something he'd been thinking about. And Rogan, who's friends with Dana White, who's got relationships throughout the Trump orbit, couldn't really follow him there. He agreed in soft terms and then moved on, which tells you something about where the ceiling is on this particular conversation. Here's the thing about the Rogansphere that I keep coming back to. These guys are not ideologues. That was never really the pitch. The pitch was, we're the ones who'll say what the mainstream won't. We're not beholden to anyone. We'll have the real conversations. And that was true for a while. And then 2024 happened, and they picked a team. And picking a team means there are things you can't say, guests you're not going to fully push back on, topics you're going to move past quickly. And the audience watched that happen in real time.
He said the country's going to fail. You should do the same thing, Joe, because you cannot be voting for Kamala. Kamala, you're not a Kamala person. I know you. I've watched you. I know him better than he is. You know what?
The wildest part of all of this is what Dave Smith said. Being in a group screws you up. Doesn't matter if it's MAGA, doesn't matter if it's woke, doesn't matter what the group is. George Carlin had it right. People are fine individually. Get them in a group and everything gets worse. The Rogansphere was never supposed to be a group. It was supposed to be individuals having conversations. And somewhere around 2024, it became a group. And now it's paying the price that groups pay when the thing they rallied around turns out to be different from what was advertised. Andrew Schulz, and again to his credit, was one of the most direct about the buyer's remorse. He said people were DMing him. You see what your boy's doing, you voted for this. And his answer was, I voted for none of this. And then he listed it. Wars funded, not stopped. Budget expanded, not reduced. Epstein files buried, not released. Everything that was supposed to happen, the opposite happened.
People that they'll DM me and be like, you see what your boy's doing? You voted for this. I'm like, I voted for none of this. He's doing the exact opposite of everything I voted for.
Yeah.
But the uncomfortable version of that is he laughed at the guy during the interview. While he was sitting across from him, his body knew, his audience knew, the clip went viral, and he still said he was going to win by a landslide, which isn't stupidity, which is just what happens when you've already decided what you want to believe, and the evidence has to fight its way through that. The most honest version of where things stand right now probably came from Tim Dillon again, talking about what the whole MAGA project actually was at its core. He said it's the last gasp of the American empire. The defense contractors get their contracts. The foreign policy establishment gets its wars. The government tells you there's no money for daycare or Medicaid while spending $1.5 trillion on the military. And the people who were supposed to be the anti-establishment guys, the Rogansphere, the Manosphere, the whole infrastructure of outsider media, spent a year giving that project credibility with the exact audience it needed to reach. Now they're all saying they feel stupid. Now they're using words like betrayed, like scam, like con, like the greatest about-face in political history. Which, fine. Better late than never, probably.
This whole thing was about. It was about winning so that they could hand all these government contracts to Palantir and all of these other companies, and they could go and topple regimes all over the world and take their resources. And by the way, it's the last gasp of the American empire. This is it.
The part nobody really wants to say out loud is that this was always the probable outcome. A 3-time married casino billionaire who became famous for telling people they were fired convinced millions of people he was going to overthrow the system. From inside the system, while making money from the system, and the pitch worked because people genuinely wanted it to work. The anti-war thing was real. The drain the swamp feeling was real. The sense that something is wrong and has been wrong for a long time, that's completely real. That part wasn't fabricated. The delivery guy just happened to be the wrong vehicle for any of it. And somewhere between the podcast studios and the endorsements and the laugh that Schulz tried to swallow in real time, all of them kind of knew that. And it didn't matter. Until now, it does.